Hey guys, it's Alex from 7th Hour Films, back again with Dad, and we're back again with Doctor Who Classic. This is the last of the 4 Doctor Who Classic episodes we're watching for now. Last time on Doctor Who Classic, we had Terror of the Autons. I never remember what these are called. We had Terror of the Autons, where we just we palled around with the 3rd Doctor and his companions at UNIT, and we had some interesting hijinks with the Master.
And watch plastic take over the world.
Yeah, it happens. This time we're going to be watching Genesis of the Daleks, which is apparently the best episode of Doctor Who ever. Which is pretty high regards for a single episode of Doctor Who, but I'm willing to give it a chance, see if it really lives up to that. It's probably fine. So, anything you like to add?
All right, a bit of background for me. I think first saw Tom Baker as Doctor Who this would have been either 1976 or 1977. I had come to Oklahoma in 1975 to do a job with a theater here, came back in 76. I've been living here permanently since then. And a friend of mine in grad school, right about this time, got interested in another very unusual British export called the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And it played at a local theater down in Norman, Oklahoma at midnight on Friday and Saturday nights. And she would occasionally ask that I go with her, along with some of the friends, on the Saturday night performances. But of course, if it doesn't show till midnight, then what are you going to do waiting around for it to come on? So while we were at her apartment, she had her television on, and I think it was at either 10 o'clock or 10:30 on Saturday night, the local public broadcasting station was putting on Doctor Who. And so they had Tom Baker on. She was very fond of Doctor Who and Tom Baker. Again, I was usually only just kind of watching it out of the corner of my eye. So I've kind of got these two things mixed up together in my mind. And bizarre little footnote to this story. About 10 years later, in 1985, when I was already working in a semi-professional theater in Oklahoma City, a friend of mine opened up a brand new, what they called alternative theater. They didn't want to just do, musicals like Oklahoma and stuff that people have been seeing forever. And my friend asked me to direct their inaugural production. And he said, what can we do that would really kind of shake up Oklahoma City, something they've never seen before? So I suggested we do the stage version of the Rocky Horror Show. So I directed the Oklahoma premiere of that show and did it again a year later. We brought it back because it had such a huge reaction to it. So forever in my mind, and I know this is very, very weird, Tom Baker's Doctor Who and the Rocky Horror Picture Show are forever melded together in my mind. So make of that what you will.
I don't know how he does this. I don't know how he brings things up out of nowhere, but he does. This is what I live with, by the way. I've had to deal with this for 21 years. And I will keep dealing with it. Until one of us dies. So
you first.
Oh.
Well, all right.
That's a little hopeful for you.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
All right, so this is where we say no spoilers in the comments whatsoever. Let's stick to this episode and previous episodes of Doctor Who, Torchwood, and Doctor Who Classic that we have reacted to. And that's pretty much that. We've got 6 parts to go through. Figures a Dalek episode would be generally long. So, let's get right into Genesis of the Daleks. Here we go.
Right, this is the first one to feature the TARDIS in the opening sequence, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true.
By the way, I did find that picture of you in the British call box.
Oh, yeah.
I may post that in the comments afterwards.
Yeah. God, another logo I have to find. Every time. Now, this is actually episode 4 of the 12th season, so I'm not sure how much we're actually missing, like background info and stuff.
This is not Tom Baker's first season, is it?
Probably not. The ones we've been watching, other than the first Doctor, they've all been like a second season.
This is going to sound very weird. I always thought Tom Baker looked a little like a young Harpo Marx.
What about Sarah and Harry?
Yeah, so he's alone out there. He doesn't have his companions.
Doctor! Doctor!
Ah, there you
Never
are.
mind.
Sarah.
Say, Doctor, that was pretty rough.
I think my friend Sandy, who introduced me to Tom Baker, had a scarf like that. And somewhere, I have about a 10-foot long brown and white scarf that Mom made me many, many years ago.
That'll be your next Halloween costume then.
All I can think of is Monty Python doing a version of this where he lifts his foot and says, "Ooh, I've wet myself."
All I can think about is Arrow and how that never works on Arrow.
Oh, it is a Jawa.
Yeah. It's a Thalwa. Ah.
It's like a big bubble.
Protective dome.
What? Large enough to cover an entire city.
Yes.
It'd be an interesting twist if these guys are actually the Daleks and the people in the dome are the Thals.
I was just thinking that.
Get him inside, quickly!
Say, I saw Sarah's yellow Macintosh back there. Didn't they get her?
Didn't seem alive to them. Oh, finally, a sonic screwdriver.
And a yo-yo.
Take some time.
Well, obviously you need a yo-yo.
You know, those are actually like Korean weapons. They were developed originally as weapons.
There you go. He's pragmatic.
Yes, that's home to you mutos, isn't it? But you won't get that far, I promise you.
Come on, we're wasting time.
Doctor, take your stuff. He left his yo-yo on the table.
It's an important yo-yo.
SS troops.
Yeah. If you couldn't already tell that they're Nazis. And or the Empire.
Alert all guards. After you.
Fired 25 or 30 bullets, not a scratch on the door.
Yeah.
I've heard Davros say there is no intelligent life on other planets. So either he is wrong or you are lying.
We are not lying.
And Davros is never wrong about
He's
anything.
wearing an iron
Really
cross.
must be
That's
acceptable. Even I am occasionally wrong about some things. Who is this Davros?
early World War
Our
I Germany.
greatest scientist. Imperfects are rejected. Some of them survive out there.
That's a very harsh policy.
Your views are not important. General Raven, I'll take these two back
The
to
idea of
front
the
before
eugenics, the
interrogation
imperfects are
by
not to be
special
kept.
unit.
That is also very
Then
Nazi.
you will release them
Yeah.
to me. The order specifies midnight.
By midnight.
Good.
I did that.
prisoners.
I get the whole hand, you gotta have a salute, but why do they hop when they do that?
Germans used to click their heels too. Parodied, by the way, in a very weird little sitcom in the mid-'60s on American television called Hogan's Heroes, which was a situation comedy in a German prison camp.
Okay, then.
He could use some moisturizer.
Yeah. There it is.
Exterminate.
I feel like he kind of needs one.
Can begin.
They will never not credit him as Doctor Who. And I will never not quit mentioning that.
Well, the pace has certainly picked up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he's half Dalek. That's what it is.
Here. Take this with you. Move!
How does he not step on that scarf?
Yeah, especially when he was running and stuff.
Beautiful. Nothing conforms to any known life on this planet. Apart from external appearances.
You can't always judge from external appearances.
Who are you?
You can't judge a
Where are
clock
you
box
from?
by its color.
It's a long story.
Yeah.
Our session will have to wait. Davros is coming.
You're chief scientist.
He is our supreme commander. When he calls a full meeting like this, he obviously has something of the greatest importance to tell us.
Well, I shall be delighted to meet him.
Stand up and keep quiet.
Very similar to the Captain Christopher Pike wheelchair in the original Star Trek back in the 60s.
Yeah. Give it its weapon. I didn't even notice it didn't have its weapon.
Our machine is now equipped with a weapon for self-defense. Now,
And can plunge any
I am
toilet.
going to turn the
Yeah.
machine over to... They will be used to resume the experiment. This meeting is ended.
I wonder if that's actually a guy in makeup or not. His head kind of seems small though.
I was about to say, very good prosthetics.
Yeah.
The fact that he can move his mouth and talk and see his eyes.
Yeah.
I think the rest is just a cap that they put on him. I'm betting those radiation suits are very, very hot. Because even if they're just leather, you're completely covered up with them. So,
Yeah.
on a set with all those hot lights.
He took living cells, treated them with chemicals, and produced the ultimate creature. Come with me.
So he made the squids then, that are in the Daleks.
Yeah. And again, historical reference. This is right about the time that
This
we were beginning to
is what the
experiment with
Daleks will
cloning.
become.
Yeah.
Okay. Pass the word to the others.
It's nice that Sarah is useful,
Knowing our ultimate form,
unlike
Davros had to devise
almost
a
all
clone machine.
companions we've had.
The Dalek.
Now it's and I have an uneasy feeling you're going to tell me they're in that cave.
Oh yeah, we get to have more caves. We haven't had caves in a while.
Wonder if it's the same sets as the ones before.
That would be funny. I hope he at least got his stuff back. Quietly. We're trying to sneak out. It's a good thing they can all climb. I'm not sure I'd be able to do that.
Climbing in boots and a skirt. She's pretty good.
Yeah. That's a cliffhanger.
Or a cliff dropper.
That's a good point. She was hanging, now she's not.
And they can't climb and shoot at the same time.
Yeah. Well, that one can.
Watch out for the giant clam.
Yeah. I'm not entirely sure what clams have to do with Daleks.
I will deal with him in my own way.
Echoes of Emperor Palpatine, too.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was meant.
Sometimes
He's also similar to Dr. Giro from Dragon Ball, which you don't get, but maybe someone out there does.
Dragon Ball. 2 minutes of script and 28 minutes of screaming.
Oh, shut up.
We accept our loyalty and total dedication to the cause of the Khalid people.
What? No salute? Oh, no heels to click.
That's true.
We cannot allow this investigation.
I'm not sure what he did there. Magnetize him or just shocking him? If they can shock it, why didn't they use that when Sarah and the others left? Unless that is some weird magnetizer.
Yeah.
Let me get something to eat.
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, let's do that.
We will avenge the annihilation of our people with a retaliation so massive, so merciless, that it will live in history.
You know, you're right, it is very Palpatine, because he's really playing both sides.
They'll be without feeling or emotion.
Correct. Now see that my orders are carried out.
But you...
Without question, Garman.
I have to say the actor playing Davros is really using his voice because he obviously has no control over movement or facial expression or anything else.
Yeah. I imagine that he's the same voice actor playing the Daleks, too.
Yeah.
It's interesting, the Dalek's weapon, like, kind of fans open when it shoots.
Now, here's a problem. How did the Daleks get around the dead bodies?
Get out of sight.
Yeah. But that's the reason why they're designed to be like that. It's like the front of a train.
Limited field of vision.
Yeah. Wonder what exactly the distance is between the two domes, because we cut between them very quickly.
What chance do we have against them?
It's your only chance. Will you do it?
Yes.
Good girl. I'm going to try and get back into the bunker now.
No?
Good luck.
Now it's also interesting that we know some of the Thalls have to survive because this takes place before the first Daleks episode. But at the same time, he's trying to change everything, so we have to assume he fails.
Or at least alters the original timeline.
Yeah. Which means he's also changing his past from that episode.
The bracelet that the Time Lord gave me is our lifeline. Without it, we can never escape from this planet.
I don't exactly get why they only gave them the ring instead of just letting him bring the TARDIS.
Gotta have a reason for trapping him on the planet.
Yeah. There's always a way of taking the TARDIS out of the episode.
Not much further. The entrance to the ventilation duct must be just through here.
Gotta watch out for all them clams.
Or get a bottle of tartar sauce.
Yeah.
Look out, Karen!
I'll never eat oysters again.
Aren't oysters, dear. They're clams.
Come on, with that.
Oh, I've just had a rather nasty thought.
Really?
Yes. Suppose something's waiting for us in there.
That is nasty. Better not tell Harry.
You go first.
That's why we sent in Harry first.
What was that?
Is there ever any explanation of why he looks this way?
Over there.
I don't know. I guess he's just done so many experiments on himself. Is there a reason that thing on his back keeps flipping us off?
Yes, some.
You have seen my Daleks in battle?
Many times. I've fought against them.
And do they win? Do they always win?
Not always.
Well, I'm
They
still
have
here,
been
so...
defeated, but never utterly defeated.
With that knowledge, there will be no defeats. We will begin.
Davros, if I tell you what you want to know, I betray millions of people in the future. I can't do that.
But you can. You will tell me. You will tell me. You will tell me.
Ow.
I guess I can kind of see why this one was longer. Because they are doing more stuff. Like, this is the first time in the episodes we watch where it does seem like this is warranting of the number of episodes it has.
Yeah. Doesn't seem to be padded out.
Right. The first Dalek episode was definitely way too padded out.
In the space year 17,000 was halted by the intervention of a fleet of war rockets from the planet Hyperon. The rockets were made of a metal that was completely resistant to Dalek firepower.
Here's a quick recap of all the other Dalek episodes we didn't watch.
But as men of science, there is so much I wish to know. Neither take charge of the tin.
You know, it'd be funny
Immediately, Davros.
is if everything he said was true, except for the years he never specifies BC or AD, so now they don't know.
Our intention has always been to make a bloodless revolution. But enough of killing and violence. I'll take him away and lock him up with the others.
Foreshadowing the falls.
That's true. Which is interesting if he's a Khaled.
I'm going to destroy the Daleks forever.
I'm not sure if he can really do that. But they are Daleks.
It's a very delicate operation, Sarah. Still, you should have finished by now.
Doctor? Doctor, are you all right?
Man, he keeps getting attacked by stuff.
Flying squid.
Those are pretty impressive if those can latch on and attack.
Yeah.
I didn't think they could.
All right. And now for the conclusion.
We're talking about the Daleks, the most evil creatures ever invented. You must destroy them. You must complete
Kill 'em,
your
baby
mission for the
Hitler.
Time Lords.
Do I have the right? Simply touch one wire against the other.
Sometimes you gotta let him into art school.
The Daleks cease to exist.
Is a destruct button. Press it, and you will destroy this bunker and everything in it.
Total
Only
destruct.
this room will remain.
It's a very cartoony
Press it and you
button.
will wipe out our entire race. Destroy the Daleks forever.
It's put away in a safe in Davros's office.
Shall we go and see?
Down
How does he
here.
not notice that he lost the ring?
Yeah. I figured that was on his wrist, so... You know, it is interesting for a Dalek episode. We haven't had a whole lot of them. It's mostly been Davros. And the Khaleds.
Even the sonic screwdriver won't open this door.
Well, at least you tried using it.
This is your last chance. Move to join me now, or suffer the consequences.
Why don't you just accept the fact that you have lost? It's over for you, Davros.
Join me, and we can rule the universe.
Lifetime's work be ended
All
by
7
those
galaxies,
spineless fools
as
like
they said.
you.
He even got his trench coat and his hat back. I thought he lost his hat in the wasteland.
You will obey only my commands. The production line is to be halted immediately. You heard my order. Obey! Production will continue.
Yeah, I kind of figured they'd turn on him. Technically, he's not Dalek.
Fire!
This is a very HAL 9000. You forgot to fix some of the programming so they don't kill you.
Goodbye, Bethan.
Thank you.
Well, that didn't work.
Thank you.
We spent 6 episodes to accomplish
Hands on the
nothing.
time ring.
I know also
Whoa.
out of their evil must come something good.
I kind of thought we'd go back to the TARDIS for a sec. Not just weirdly float in space, but... Okay. That's one way of ending this. So, great episode or greatest episode, in your opinion?
Well, I do have some issues with it. But, yeah, I mean, obviously the production values are much better.
Yeah.
Script is much tighter. Like all good science fiction, there is no definitive ending to it.
Yeah.
It has to say, but what if? And that's what we've delayed them for 1,000 years, but at some point we will figure out how to turn them into a force for good. If nothing else, they will unite the rest of the universe against them, and then, we'll all sing, Kumbaya.
I mean, I imagine that whole thing of him saying, I've only delayed them for 1,000 years. I bet it's 1,000 years later when the first Doctor shows up, which is an appropriate amount of time for the Thals to become the chest-showing Thals that we saw in the Daleks.
And they did set up that whole thing about there has to be a better way than doing this. So
now, on the topic of it being the best episode of Doctor Who, maybe. I could see that as a maybe, but maybe that's just because, on the whole, we've only seen 5 episodes of classic Doctor Who, and I don't even know if it's the best of those 5. Because even, I don't know, I really like Tomb of the Cybermen, so maybe because that one was a bit more fun, and the Doctor was a bit more lighthearted, I guess, even though he was very serious with the whole Cybermen stuff. And I know Tom Baker is supposed to be sort of another goofy Doctor. We sort of have a pattern of grumpy, goofy, and then, I don't know, something happens in the 5th Doctor, and we kind of abandon the pattern. So I know that Tom Baker is supposed to be another goofy sort of Doctor, but it didn't exactly shine through in this. Which makes sense. This is a Dalek episode. The Daleks are very serious and a very serious threat, so the Doctor has to take them seriously. So maybe if we watch another Tom Baker episode, he'll be a bit more lighthearted. But yeah, so
again, to me, that didn't really bother me because of the seriousness of the subject.
Right.
But yeah, you can introduce too much melodrama, and if you don't have something to lighten it up, then...
Which he did. There were some times, I can't remember exactly what it was, but there were some times when he would look at someone. I think it was when he was talking to the scientist at first, and you could see he was just kind of messing with him, talking about all the future stuff. So it did work. I'm I would say probably if this was Hartnell or if this was John Pertwee that we saw last time, maybe that would have, the two of them may have dragged this down a bit, but it worked a bit better with Tom Baker. I don't know. So yeah, but best episode of Doctor Who. Obviously, we're going to have to watch more, but I'll say it was probably the best written. I'd say this was a lot better written than Tomb of the Cybermen. I just had a lot of fun with Tomb of the Cybermen. All right, so I've got a ton of notes, actually, so we'll go over those. The first thing I wrote down was actually the Time War. Because originally, in the first scene, when the Doctor is talking to that Time Lord with the weird getup he had going on, he did mention that they see a future where there's a huge conflict with the Daleks, and so that's the entire purpose of them sending the Doctor in to try to just end the Daleks before they ever really do anything. Yeah. Which, in and of itself, is interesting because of how many Dalek episodes there are. Just even before this episode, there are so many Dalek episodes since then. So I would assume that technically you can go back and watch this and be like, okay, yes, there is going to be a future conflict with the Daleks, and that's going to be the Time War that they sort of retroactively fit between the 8th and the 9th Doctor, because they had to explain, where's the Doctor been, all this time? As well, he's been in a Time War with the Daleks. That makes sense. And obviously I know the Time War is a construction of new Doctor Who. It's never mentioned in Classic Who ever. But I do like that they probably use this, and this being the best episode of, the quote-unquote best episode of Doctor Who, it would make sense that the writers of modern Doctor Who took this and probably a bunch of other episodes and like, okay, what can we gather in this and reference it in modern Doctor Who? And so that was probably one of them.
Yeah.
I wrote down the Mutos and the Thals. So the Mutos, if I can remember this correctly, they were the sort of mutated Khaleds, weren't they?
Yeah.
Because, the Khaleds were doing all these experiments, and then the ones that they just rejected, they sent off into the wasteland, but the Thals didn't take them. But now, it seems like, which I guess is skipping ahead a little in my notes, but I guess we're just going to be done with, we're not going to call them Mutos anymore. Excuse me. Because, as we see in the Daleks, there are no Mutos. It's just the Daleks and the Thals. And they only slightly reference, back probably 1,000 years, they have those little images of this is an old Khaled, before they became the Daleks. So they didn't even mention the Mutos. The Mutos are not there in the Daleks. So I'm wondering if after all this, because we pretty much lost all the Khaleds, and we have the Mutos, and we have what's left of the Thals because the Daleks took out most of them. If now they're just going to all be like, okay, we're just the Thals now. It's we're all just one group of Thals. So, and I was kind of thinking the remaining Khaleds that confronted Davros, I almost thought, because you said the whole thing of this does sort of set up their whole, their bloodless revolution. And that does sort of tie into the Thals non-violence that we saw in the previous episode.
Yeah.
But none of those Khaleds survived and became Thals, and the remaining Thals that we had were still willing to completely destroy what's left of the Khaleds and the Daleks and Davros himself. So that's interesting. It's like they set that up, but they forgot to have the right people set it up.
Yeah.
So
that's definitely a loose end.
Yeah.
The other thing is the mutant clams and the other little slithery thing that went by.
Yeah.
Is that the stuff that goes out and then ultimately ends up in the big swamp that eats that guy in the first Dalek that we saw?
Yeah, I would imagine so. Because now they said I don't know, I'm trying to remember all the things they said, because Now, they did say, I thought it was that the Daleks and the Thals were once one species, and then like the radiation and mutations changed them, and the Daleks became the squids, and the Thals became very humanoid looking. But this sort of takes that as like, they were. I mean, I guess they could just be one species. They just,
And
different
again,
groups.
the fact that we have not watched all 12 seasons, there may have been some of their explanation in that time.
That's true.
So for us skipping around, you'll have to forgive us making, mistakes like this, like magicians and logicians.
yeah, you guys caught us on that one. So that was, and as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, that does make a lot of sense.
Well, again, what we were discussing off camera was simply the pronunciation. When you say logicians, that makes perfect sense. When you say logicians, it sounds like magicians to us.
Yeah.
And that's where that conversation started.
And it doesn't help, that one in Tomb of the Cybermen shot in the 60s, so some of that is sort of lost in filming and recording the audio. So if you if a British accent sort of slurs logician to us Americans who love crystal clear audio, it does sound like magicians. But as soon as I read that, I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. So,
please forgive us.
Yeah. So let's see. The next thing I wrote down was Davros. He was definitely an interesting villain, and you could definitely see, like, this is completely the reason that the Khaleds would become the Daleks. Like, because even if you look at all the other Khaleds, it's like you can see, yes, they do feel they are racially superior and stuff like that. It's very much, they are a take on the Nazis, and, just like in Star Wars, they're similar to the Empire, but they do still have that humanity aspect to them. Whereas Davros just takes that away. He wants to take that away so that it can ensure that they are the superior race.
Now, that's one of the things, this is the biggest problem, not necessarily a problem, but the biggest sticking point of this entire thing, and that is the use of the term evil.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I don't mean to get into, Christianity and ethics and all that,
right.
Buddhism or Hinduism or anything else, Judaism. But if the Daleks are simply engineered not to have a conscience, not knowing the difference between right and wrong, they, to me, aren't in fact evil. Because they simply don't know. If you don't know what evil is, how can you be evil?
Right.
Now, they appear evil to the Doctor and the companions and everybody else, but like a machine, or like they said, like a virus.
Yeah.
They are only doing what they are created to do.
Right.
So if they believe that they are the superior race and that it is their function to then either wipe out all inferior races or subjugate all inferior races, that doesn't specifically make them evil.
Right.
It makes them a threat, makes them a terror for the entire universe. But yeah, I that's the one little thing that just kind of sits in the back of my head as a person who has studied history, and I teach history.
Yeah.
And also being an actor, when you inhabit a role like that, how do you say, get up in the morning and say, well, I'm an evil person and I need to go destroy the entire world. Davros, when he wakes up in the morning, says, I must make the world a better place, and this is how I think I can do it.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily think he thinks of himself as evil. I don't think the Daleks think of themselves as evil. They are just doing what they think is their purpose, their function.
Yes. So, which is probably why, even still, like, after however many episodes we have with the Daleks, from the first episode, we clearly see they are a threat. They want to kill, the Thals, and they want to eventually kill the Doctor and the gang. That, despite all of that, the Doctor still has a hard time killing them. Now, he eventually does at the end of this. He kills them, and he tricks the one Dalek into sliding over that, which I guess connects. The wires connect. They shock through the Dalek and then that explodes. But it is a main point, especially of the Doctor, because they establish so many times he just will not kill. Even at the end of Series 3 of Modern Doctor Who, he has the chance to kill the Master and just completely end him. But he's like, no, I can't do it. That's just not what I do. I will not kill him. I will simply take him prisoner. And it's sort of the same thing here, is that he just could not kill the Daleks again until the end, until he changed his mind. And he's like, okay, well, yeah, I need to try to end this.
I think his decision there wasn't specifically that he was trying to end the Daleks. He was trying to limit the amount of progress the Daleks could make.
Right.
These creatures will not become Daleks, and then he's not going to destroy the ones that already are Daleks. I mean, it's a bizarre distinction, I'm sure, but...
Yeah. And I guess that's the thing, is that with that, and I guess he didn't really know about, the Thal's plan to sort of entomb what's left of the Daleks in what's left of that dome, too. But he knows that what he will do, even if, yes, he does have to kill those specific Daleks in there, that will set the Daleks back a while. And then the explosion, he does say, sets them back about 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Now, the main question is, has he actually changed the timeline at all?
Or is this the way the timeline...
This is how the timeline always goes.
You can't mess with time.
And the other thing is, the Doctor had a lot of interactions with Davros. He never actually had an interaction with the Daleks themselves, at least a conversation saying, hi, I'm the Doctor, I'm from the future. So none of them know about it, and they've just killed all the Khalids and Davros. So now they don't know about him. They don't know about him. They don't know about time travel. All they know is the Thals trapped them in there, and now they have to just sort of rebuild, everything, sort of rebuild the Khalid race now as Daleks. So that way, they don't know who he is when he shows up and says, hi, I'm the Doctor, I can travel through time.
Yeah.
So it still works in that I don't think he changed the timeline at all. Yes, he did set them back 1,000 years, but I think that's the exact 1,000 years to when he shows up in episode 2.
By the way, one last little point here, and I want to add about not killing the Daleks. I thought Christopher Nolan in Batman Begins did that perfectly at the end when Batman is struggling with Ra's al Ghul on the train, and Ra's al Ghul looks up and says, "You won't kill me," and he says, "No, but I don't have to save you either." And I think that's kind of what they're playing at here. The Doctor says, I may not kill them, but I'm not going to save them either. If the whole city tends to fall down on their heads, I can live with that.
It's like, well, I didn't kill those Daleks in the incubation chamber. That one Dalek rode over the cords because they can't see where the flip, and they can't see that there are cords down there.
Yeah, now, you want to talk about the ultimate race, the superior beings and all that sort of stuff, and yet they can't see anything except directly in front of them.
And they never do. Because we've had episodes in modern Doctor Who where, like, it was like sort of a corridor, and the Doctor and someone sort of just kind of got on a wall behind a thing, and the Dalek just scooted right by and just did not see them. It's like it's just very singular what they can see.
So I guess you could say the Daleks have a blind spot.
Yeah. A very massive blind spot.
Sorry.
All right.
But yeah, of all the things that he was making them superior, he didn't think to give them, like, sensors.
Yeah.
Peripheral vision,
a heat sensor, maybe just another eye. That would be something. But oh well. I mean, I guess they just have to adhere to the original designs that the showrunners made, and it's like they can't see. They don't have peripheral vision. Shh! Don't talk about that. All right. Let's see. I wrote down clam, which well, first off, there was a lot of clams. Like, I thought we'd see more than just clams. Like, we saw the one thing
slither by.
Yeah, that was, and then we just saw a bunch of clams. Like, is that it? I thought there were more.
And I have to say, again, having a background with Star Trek as well, the slithery thing that went by the first time by the grate there, that reminded me an awful lot of the Horta from Devil in the Dark in the Star Trek original series. Because it was kind of lump shape and wiggling and slithery and gooey. So I don't know. That's just when I saw that was my impression.
All right. And yeah, we already mentioned that the whole stuff in the Daleks where it's like there's a thing in the water and it eats the one dude. It's pretty much Davros's animal creations. Let's see. I wrote down the year. It's pretty much the same question I had in the original episode, is that what year exactly is this? How far into the past we are, which is just, honestly, now that I think about it, it's just more of a play on what year was it in that episode, because it's pretty much that episode minus 1,000 years where we get this episode. But still, where is that? Is it still 100,000 BC or 101,000 BC at this point? So
I thought it was also interesting. He referenced one of the episodes of the Daleks being in the year 2000. Yeah, and it makes me wonder if was Doctor Who in production in 2000? Had it come back by then or not?
No, it wasn't.
So it would have been interesting that if they had done an episode in the year 2000 that corresponded to what Tom Baker had set up there.
That's true. It would have been nice if they came back, maybe if they did like a short movie or something. But no, it came back in 2005, I think. So, and then the movie was in 1996. So there's just a long gap. Yeah. So, let's see. Timeline, we went over that. Genocide. The New Thalls, we went over that too. I wrote something down about the production of the Daleks. I don't remember what that was. I wrote something. I was gonna say something about the assembly line of the Daleks, but I don't remember what that point was gonna be.
Again, we referenced this the first time on the Daleks. I mentioned something about seeing the Daleks in color, because in the original episodes in black and white, they tended to look silver.
Right.
Whereas in this one, they look less silver and more darker, black almost.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's simply the difference between the black and white filming of it and then the color filming of it, or they simply said, the darker color now would make them look more sinister. I also noticed they seem to have some kind of plate between their head and their body, some kind of what I would call dentition or something that I don't remember them having the first time around. More like a screen or a fence, just wiry kind of stuff the first time around. This time it was more of bars between their heads and their bodies.
Maybe.
Yeah. But they still have the toilet plungers.
Yeah. They also seemed a bit smaller. Now, granted, that could be because Tom Baker is a very tall man, so I imagine he's taller than William Hartnell was. But I don't know. The Daleks seemed a bit bigger in the other episode. But granted, I guess they weren't too much. I guess Ian was kind of taller than them too. I don't know.
Yeah, I remember Ian had a hard time fitting inside of it.
Yeah, so well, they might have been a bit more slimmer in this one too. I don't know. But that's basically all I wrote down. So you got anything else?
No, I again just wanted to say, and I don't know that she will ever hear this, but a shout out to Sandy for introducing me to Tom Baker and to Rocky Horror Picture Show. Maybe a lot of this wouldn't have happened now if she hadn't been there. So
maybe that's an interesting connection you got there. Well, that is basically going to be it for this episode, and that's going to be it for our time with classic Doctor Who for a while. Next week, I'm going to be back with Series 4 of Modern Doctor Who. Man, it's been so long since I watched Modern Doctor Who. But don't you worry, because I know a lot of you guys like these classic reactions. Right after the Series 4 finale of Modern Doctor Who, we're going to be back with the 5th Doctor, and we're going to be moving on to the episode called Kinda, which is apparently another super great episode. So yeah, next time on Doctor Who Classic, we'll move on to Kinda, and just a heads up, we are going to be going through a 5th Doctor serial, then the 6th and 7th Doctors, and then we're going to be watching the movie with the 8th Doctor. That'll be fun. I mean, I guess it's not going to be much longer than what we've watched already. So, with all that being said, I'm Alex, and that's Dad from 7th Hour Films. We'll see you guys later. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. If you want to watch more of our Doctor Who Classic reactions, you can click on the playlist. You can subscribe if you haven't done that already, and make sure you hit that notification bell. You can support me on Patreon, and you can follow me on social media, links below in the description. See you guys later.